I'm Mariella Craig and I am one of the Biosphere youth representatives.
And hello, I'm Rachel and I'm also one of the Biosphere youth representatives.
So I moved back from uni in the summer last year and I was back on the island for a few months, and then Rachel spoke to me about the youth network that she was developing, and the opportunity came about that a youth rep role was vacant, and I studied geography and I'm very interested in sustainability, so it just aligned with my interests and values, so I decided to go for it and see if I'd get the place, and I did, so here I am.
Excellent. And how would you, I often say this to anyone working with the Biosphere, how do you perceive what is meant by Biosphere Isle of Man?
I see it as connecting with each other and the place, so it's conserving that and looking after that and trying to make it a better place for everyone. So I'm interested in conserving natural land, but also I think it's really important and lovely the community we have here, and sort of shouting about that and being proud of that and getting involved with it. So that's what I'm sort of hoping to help with, engaging more young people to get involved in community initiatives or sustainability projects.
And I see you're down there for improving youth engagement. Is that, so how do you perceive that? Is that something which is sort of heavily online, or is that more face-to-face, or community groups, or mixture of all?
A bit of both, to be honest. So we've had some socials in person where we've sort of got a network now of people, which I think Rachel will have talked about last time. But also we've just set up our social media page on Instagram. So we're going to post about the events we're up to and sort of knowledge sharing on there too. So it's a bit of both in person or online, but it's nice to be in person predominantly, but also shout about it to connect with people that haven't heard of us before.
And Rachel, like I said, we chatted a year or so back, I think, but it sounds like you've been super busy since then, and to your great credit, because the pair of you both, this isn't full-time work for you. You both have full-time jobs, and these are things you sort of, this is work that you're passionate about, you fit in, in your spare times and weekends and evenings and everything else?
Yeah, so both of us work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
But then this youth representative role is really just something that we focus on in our lunch breaks or on the weekends. I think we often quite like a coffee lunch.
Yeah.
On a Saturday.
It works for us.
Our meetings are often held at coffee shops, that kind of thing. Really busy.
And youth networks, that's been expanding since we last spoke?
Yeah, so I think we're on 49 members now on our WhatsApp community, where the network's predominantly held and where we do all of our communications. But since we spoke last, we've been developing some groups that we're setting up within the network itself. So these have all come from some of the priorities that us as a network would like to work towards, and different aspects of things that people really wanted to gain from being a part of the youth network. So we've got 4 new groups that are going to come into play quite soon, and look out on our social media page for more information about those. So I'll list them off, shall I?
Please do.
So we're going to have one called Network and Membership, one called Skills and Knowledge, one called Community Engagement, and one called Sustainable Projects. And they all kind of do what they say on the tin. I think more information will be coming out soon about those, but they basically give everyone in the network a chance to get involved and do some more things that they'd like to do, give everyone a bit more freedom, and start making some changes together, some nice positive changes.
I think as well, it's nice that we actually came up with those different groups as a network, so it wasn't just 1 or 2 people that decided that. We were meeting up and we were talking online to try and develop that, and those are the groups that came about based on everybody's different interests. So some people might be more interested in one of those than the other, or somebody might be interested in them all, but I think it's really nice that collectively those groups were formed by everyone.
It was a huge brainstorming session.
It was a big brainstorming session, big piece of paper, big scribbles,
lots of tea consumed.
Lots of tea
Best way
and
to
crisps consumed. Yeah.
Is it is the network sort of autonomous? Are you allowed to sort of give them free rein to come up with your own initiatives?
Yeah, completely. So we work very closely with the Biosphere coordinating team, Jackie and Brescia. But the youth network itself is relatively independent.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of support, and we know that they're there when they need us, when we need them. But yeah, how would you describe it, Mariella?
Yeah, I'd say we're pretty independent, but with this, like, we've used their sort of expertise to try and set up the network and sort of create like a terms of reference. Sort of, it sounds quite formal, but sort of what our aims are, and if you're part of the network, like what we sort of expect and all of that sort of thing. So we've been able to learn from them and what they know about that, and they're very supportive to whatever initiatives we want to do. So
what sort of buy-in do you think you get from people in your sort of demographics, in your sort of age group? Do you get a lot of buy-in from people? Because clearly you're both passionate advocates, for the reason you're here today. But do you think there is a good buy-in from people in your age groups?
I think it could be better. I think it could improve. I just think that our network, there's space for something like our network where like-minded people can now connect, whereas maybe we didn't have that before. There's like great sporting communities over here, musical communities, there's loads of different groups, but I think this is quite niche, maybe. I don't know if that's the right term to use.
I think so too, but also I think it's really lovely how it brings people from all of those different areas together at the same time. It allows us to make something really special of the small community that is the Isle of Man. And because of that, we're able to really draw in people from all over the island, all different interests, everything.
And also spark maybe a thought that people haven't really considered so much before, perhaps. So I think that's a nice thing about it as well. You might have a conversation with someone that's not really thought much about sustainability, and then once you get them talking about it, thinking about it, then they realise, oh, actually I am quite interested in this and I want to learn more and I want to be more involved. So it's created a space for that to happen.
Yeah, and also I think it's really nice that we've got such a wide variety of people within the youth network already.
Yeah.
We've got people who are working in sustainability, like Mariella, and government, like me. But then also we've got students, we've got people working in the public sector, private sector.
Yeah, people don't necessarily work in like a sustainability field. Like people are from different jobs and everything, but perhaps they just want to use their spare time to get involved and
learn more about our island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do they get the concept of the whole sustainable living rather than... Sometimes I think people hear the word bio or biosphere and they just purely think of the green side of things and the sort of, maybe sustainable gardening or sort of looking after areas and conservation, and don't think more about the bigger picture of sort of living. We've all got to live on the Isle of Man, work on the Isle of Man, drive a car maybe, you've got the TT going on. All these things form part of the biosphere. It's this concept of sort of living together. Do people get their heads around that?
I think in the youth network we're pretty good, and I think we'd really like to utilise our voice as the youth network to help share that story as well. Like we said, we've got people within the youth network from all of these different sectors, and coming together, I think it tells that story in itself that we're all part of this, and you might go and do this job in the day, but come and really engage with the wildlife in the evening, or go to your Manx class in the evening. All of these different things.
Brighton. Brighton, I'm going to mention now. You were talking about, just as we came in, recently-ish, back from Brighton.
Yeah, just this week.
Yeah, we were there last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us more. What was happening there?
Do you want to start, Mariella?
Yeah, sure. So we were invited to go to Brighton, which they have a biosphere reserve there called the Living Coast, and they were hosting the Manham Biosphere Committee meeting. So they annually meet, so coordinators from different reserves over the UK and Ireland and Isle of Man, meet up to go there. And it was the first time that youth representatives have also been invited. So it was really exciting. Rachel and I got to go and meet up with other youth reps for the first time in person and sort of get our heads together and collaborate on how we, as a youth network, would like to seek help or from the committee, or what we'd like to do to help young people in biosphere reserves. So that was really exciting. Do you want to talk a bit about that? Because Rachel sort of set up the UK and Ireland Youth Network, so I feel like you should talk about that.
So you're responsible for the broader network. That's sort of your work as well.
Yeah, so it all stems back to about last year, I think last May, when I went to Germany for the Euromab meeting that was held there. And I met some really inspiring individuals and young people from biosphere reserves around Europe and North America. And we kind of re-kickstarted the Euromab Youth Network. Okay, so there's lots of youth networks.
Okay, and Euromab that's the Euro. What's that stand for?
So MAB is Man in the Biosphere, and
Okay.
it's the program that all of the biosphere reserves fall under. And this is biosphere reserves specifically from Europe and also North America, because they're added into the Euromab network as well. And together we as I said, kickstarted the Euromab Youth Network, which brings young people together from those areas and those biosphere reserves, and also just people who are generally interested in them as well. Following that, I was chatting to some people there from some of the biosphere reserves in the UK, as at the time the only youth representative from a biosphere reserve in the UK. We talked about how lovely it would be to have more young people involved in that area and in our biosphere reserves. And so we slowly started reaching out to different biosphere coordinators around the UK and Ireland, talking about how they could get their own youth representatives. And since then, we now have youth representatives from 8 of the 9 biosphere reserves around the UK, Ireland and Isle of Man, and at least one in all of those, sorry. So we were all able to come together and meet in person for the first time. It was really magical.
Yeah, it was lovely to connect with people that also are really passionate about it and also live in biosphere reserves, because
they're not a very well-known designation globally, I don't think.
No.
I think people often don't understand exactly what a biosphere reserve is. I think the concept can be quite confusing, but I think together, utilising the fact that we're all from biosphere reserves, we all have similarities in that sense, but we're all really different. We're then able to share what's unique about our own spaces and use that as a tool in itself to start teaching more people about what it means to live in a biosphere reserve, why that's special, and how can we all collaborate a bit more in the future
and learn from each other as well. Like, even just getting the youth representatives in other reserves is really important to have that youth voice there as well in their committees. But also, if we're doing projects that other youth reps have done, we can learn from them and vice versa, and it creates that space where we're all learning together.
Yeah, another thing that we've done already, which was nice to celebrate whilst we were there, was I conducted a survey on the island, again, just short of a year ago, trying to gain a baseline level of how many young people are engaging with Biosphere Isle of Man. I think we spoke about it last time, maybe. But since then, the Isle of Wight Biosphere Reserve has rolled out a very similar survey. I think the Living Coast are planning on doing a similar survey. And Dublin Bay. So we'll gain a collective view of how young people are engaging with our biosphere reserves for that kind of top level Man in the Biosphere Committee, for them to be able to see how we can then utilise that and use our own voices there to reach really high levels.
Because some of the feedback was quite interesting from the Isle of Man one. One of the things that stood out to me was young people were suffering a lot with social anxiety That was one of the results that you got, wasn't it? And that they might not want to go to in-person events because of that. That's a barrier for them. And I thought it would be interesting to know in other reserves if that's also an underlying issue there, and what we can do collectively, putting our heads together to try and combat that and make that better. So I think, I thought that was something that stood out to me, that they've also got similar questions in their surveys too.
And we remain, though, do we, the only whole nation biosphere?
Oh, yes.
Yes, still got that badge.
Okay, but of course the other thing we were talking about the other week is that we do have, you don't just get the badge and then you have it forever. You have to sort of keep proving you're worthy of maintaining your badge, as it were. So we certainly hear, and again, something presumably you'll be discussing in your own groups in the network, the forthcoming first
annual
review,
periodic review,
yeah, which is just proving that we're still maintaining that state and worthy of the status, presumably.
Yeah, I think we'll be flying through it, no problem, to be honest. I think it's a really nice opportunity for us to shout about all of the amazing things that we're doing on the island.
Yeah, it's a nice point. It's 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's 10 years, we can see what our progress has been in those 10 years and highlight that.
Yeah, I think people often think really negatively about it, and everyone's worried that we're not going to get it, but it's easy to be blinded by negativity instead of just looking at
what we've achieved
in 10 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we were just at the Living Coast Biosphere Reserve. They had some really lovely graphics. I don't know if you saw them, Mariella. Of it was like a map that they created,
yes,
timeline to show all of the highlights of their 10 years of being a Biosphere Reserve, because they've not long done their periodic review. So I think it'll be really nice.
And we touched on the social media account. I suppose that's a great way of disseminating information, getting in contact with more people, instilling more enthusiasm, particularly perhaps with the youth network, people at the younger end of the scale. Is that something that's been going? And obviously, Mariella, you said you've been working on developing that.
Yeah, so it's recently set up. I'll give it a little shout out. It's Biosphere Isle of Man Youth Network, and we're sort of using that to promote our events and things that we have going on, and also make it sort of maybe a knowledge sharing space. To be more involved with the network, we have a WhatsApp community, so you can join there. The links are all on the Instagram page, so you can join the WhatsApp community there if you're wanting to actively participate in anything. But if you're wanting to just follow the progress and see what we're up to, the Instagram page is there to follow along and hopefully be quite an inspiring space for people to look at while they're doom scrolling.
Oh, yeah, it's positive doom scrolling.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
It doesn't all have to be negative.
A little nugget of positivity in there.
And coming up, we're just heading into spring now. This very month, in fact, into April, there's the Grad Fair taking place here on the Isle of Man. What's that about?
Well, it's a fair for young graduates and young professionals on the Isle of Man to come and learn more about job opportunities and other things that are going on the Isle of Man. And we've got a stall there as the youth network where people can come over, ask any questions. There'll be QR codes to join us, and some other activities I think that we're working on at the moment. So come and say hello.
Perfect. Will you both be there?
Yes, I will be there. I will be doing a panel talk at some point, though.
Excellent.
They've got different talks going on throughout the day. So there's one on climate change and sort of green jobs. So there'll be a bunch of us talking about how we've ended up down the routes that we have. So I'll be nipping off for that. But I will also be there at the stall. So come and say hello and have a chat if you're there.
Lovely. And can you remind us of the dates for that one?
16th of April.
16th of April down at the Villa Marina.
Yes.
That's it.
And then just casting forward, you were just saying, again, I know time flies, but sort of, Rachel, you've been doing this role for a while now. So in theory, you've got about another six months to go.
Yeah, 6 months left, and then my 2 years is up. It's actually gone so quickly. But I guess we'll be starting to look for my replacement soon.
Oh my Lord.
Not replacement. That sounds sad.
but someone else. But yes, there's someone else who can come along and carry on the good work, and then, well, we'll see what happens from there, I suppose.
Yeah. I'd still really like to stay involved.
Yeah.
And continue to get involved with the UK and Ireland and Isle of Man Youth Network as well, because it's my baby.
Excellent. Well, listen, it'll be lovely catching up today, and hopefully we can have another catch up before you depart for wherever.
Yeah.
Or at least, leave the role. But
I'll be doing a lot of reflecting, I think.
Exactly. Well, that's a good thought. And we look forward to hearing more from you, Mariella, in the forthcoming months. And we'll do perhaps a catch-up from the podcast a little bit later on. But for now, thanks very much indeed for coming and chatting to us today. And keep up the good work, is all I can say.
Thanks so much, Howard.